This is LTV.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank, create success, enterprisebanking.com.
Hello and welcome to Inside Leominster. My name is Dean Mazzarella, Mayor of the city, and yes, it's Thursday night. We're live. We have lots to talk about. We have a whole hour here, and yes, so much to fill you in on. And yes, it's hot. Not quite as humid as it seemed this morning. This morning, first thing in the morning, it seemed muggy, and it seems to have, I don't know, I haven't checked to see what the dew point is and how muggy it is, but I know it's hot out there. And I guess the only thing I'm looking for is a couple of just summer days that aren't hot, that aren't muggy. The heat, one thing. The bugginess, another thing. So hoping that before we end the summer, we get a nice streak, a little stretch of nice weather. And so anyway, tonight, just to let you know, in the planning stages here, if you're thinking about what am I going to do tonight, maybe you're going to go out and grab something from one of the local restaurants, maybe grab an ice cream, and then at 7 o'clock, Mark Marquis is down at Carter Park. So plan to stop down and see Mark Marquis. And yes, you'll always, and he brings friends along with him, and it's always a good concert. So, and we thank Tyler and Jeff Yalen, who are the people that are volunteer from emergency management, and for the concerts that we've had on Thursday nights and Tuesdays, they're over by St. Leo's, and it's dangerous to cross over there. So they have volunteered so for the people that park over at St. Leo's, they volunteered to cross people to and from, and it's been a big help to all of us. So speaking of a big help, let's the man who never stops thinking, it's the one and only Art from the Art Report.
Good evening, sir.
It's a very good evening.
Yes, it is. And you know, I had a flashback today, and I sat in the car, and I recollect on it, and I listened, and I talked to myself, because I went over by Doyle Field, and I saw the little stuff, the Whalum artifacts they were setting up the carnival.
Yes.
And I got to thinking of back in the day. Two events that still sticking with me. I'm talking over 70 years ago. And one of them, growing up, I was the second house over the Fitchburg-Leominster line.
Right.
And almost directly across the street, the building is still there. It's a big brick three-decker. And that was the Caruso block. And that housed a little market, which was on the side of it, facing it, the left-hand side, and that's where Mr. Caruso lived.
Yeah.
And it had a little storefront and a barber by the name of John Finelli.
Yeah.
And he was his grandchildren are the Finelli Amusements. And
yes.
He started that. He'd be cutting my hair, and I remember him specifically telling me he was going to buy a little popcorn wagon and take it to Coggeshall and sell popcorn on the weekends.
Yeah. And
it grew from...
Wasn't it Ralph Valerio that used to sell popcorn up there after?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
And that block itself, Gracie Caruso and the Mulhollands were on the third floor, and their father was career Army, and I remember he had all kinds of ribbons. Mm-hmm. And he was on the third floor, and the Carusos were on the first floor. And it was right on Battle Street.
Yeah.
And Battle Street had a lot of history for us kids. If you walked to the end of Battle Street, there was only 2 or 3 houses, and then you turned into this woods, and there was a pipe that went across the Nashua River. And we'd walk that pipe, and it would come out where Dixie Calgary is now.
That's-
And that used to be apartment houses.
That's our sewer line or our water line, I think. Both, maybe.
Yeah.
That goes
and I
across.
think Mr. Canavino, I remember him telling me once that he's using his terms, I had to scope that pipe one time, whatever that meant. But another flashback, we had a set of hedges next to our driveway, and the neighbor come over and said, there is a monstrous snake on top of your hedges, getting some sun, whatever. And my dad had a radio repair shop in the back. I went in and told him. He grabbed a shovel. We went down there. I'll never forget it. It was huge. And he disposed of the situation. Come to find out, the circus was in town, and we think it might have got away from the circus, which was down at the big field across from the pipe. And that's a little bit of the snake in me, I guess.
Well,
But that was a lot of fun those days, and now it's back. We got a carnival at the whole deal.
Yeah. Well, hoping that they can raise enough money to maybe, buy a ride, even if it's a small one, and another one, and kind of put something together, and then maybe during the summer, downtown Fitchburg, Lunenburg, and then maybe right down at the lakefront, right in front, with the lights at night ricocheting mirroring off of Lake Whalum. How fun would that be?
Yes.
Did they? Do I remember this or not? Did they at one time do fireworks over at Lake Whalum on like Friday night or something?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
did.
what I thought.
Yes. My growing up between Cape Cod and Lake Whalum, my uncle, Harold Farnsworth, formed and became the head of the Civil Defense Skin Divers. And I remember specifically, we'd be over there swimming in the summer, and he'd get a call that someone had unfortunately drowned.
Yeah.
And he'd get together, and they'd go recover the body.
Yeah, sad.
And he started that scuba right there at Lake Whalum.
Wow.
And he told me if you were in a boat and the old roller coaster was to your back, and you took a right with your back instead of thing, and you followed the shoreline around Lake Whalum, the far corner where the water leaves the lake, right up on the hill there was my aunt and uncle's house. They were right on the water, and that's where we learned how to swim.
Yeah.
And I think if you learned how to swim the way he taught me, he'd probably be in jail today, because I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
He took me out in a
Threw
canoe
you out.
and threw me in.
Yeah.
It said, there's the shore. Of course, he was right there with me.
Like a
But
TikTok.
I swam to shore.
Like a TikTok video.
Yeah. But yes, those fireworks, I remember that well. In fact, grabbing a windmill pizza,
Yeah. Right on
sitting in the car,
Yeah.
playing some tunes.
Remember, July 4th was a big day for those who lived in the city. And African Americans would come down, and that would be like the big day, July 4th. You remember that? It was like big. The place would be packed. Like, I mean, full capacity. And that was big because people that lived in the city, there was Franklin Park Zoo, but there wasn't much else that was close to them. And that was like, they had so much food. They had I was always jealous with all the food they had. They had
We could smell it. I remember we'd say Boston's here. There'd be buses everywhere.
Yes. And
then the Playhouse, all those.
But
I remember walking down by the Playhouse with my aunt and uncle, and all of a sudden they looked up, and there was Cesar Romero standing on the porch outside on the Playhouse, because he was there that week.
Imagine kids who didn't have an amusement park around them, living in the city, very densely populated, and they got a chance to come out to an amusement. They had the lake across the street where you could go swimming, fireworks at night. Imagine how exciting that was for them, huh? And all families. It was all families.
We used to call it Boston's in town.
Yeah.
There's buses everywhere.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
And they had little fireplaces. They cook in the fireplaces.
It was a big deal. A big deal.
Over where Kittyland is now, or was, I should say.
It was a big deal. I mean, that was a day that you could always count on the fact that it would be at capacity. It wouldn't be another parking spot, another ticket to be sold, and it's wonderful tradition. So hopefully, they bring in a little nostalgia out to us. At the same time, they maybe raise some money that helps them get a little closer to being able to purchase some things that they can go out and make money with. Right? You want to take that money and invest it in other things that are going to help you make money. So yeah. A lot of good memories at Whalen Park. I think, personally, if they could have hung in there, but I know it was tough. If they could have hung in there, I think today they could have done very well, And
I do too. I just think that it was. They didn't want to risk a lot of capital to keep it up, and unfortunately,
it was
stuff like that happened.
And it was a tough time. It was financially for families. Yeah. It was just a tough time. People couldn't afford it. The prices had to go up. Liability became an issue. And one of the investors owned an insurance company. So it was tough for them. And they had a hard time, it's a big keep up, big maintenance. And it was a big decision to have to close that. But things had changed because if you think about it, there was competition. Canopy Lake Park, and then they had Six Flags, and there were other things. There were other places that you could go with your family, and one time that was the big attraction.
Oh, and when you think about it, on a Friday night or a Saturday night, whatever, if you were on a waterfront, you had the rooftop dancing at the Rose Garden. The sound of the roller coaster, it just added to it. You could hear the people screaming. And all that food and all the cars and cruising with your 49 Merc and the glass packs.
Yep.
And Blackie eating, writing tickets.
That's right. Hey, somebody had to keep order, right? But yeah, a lot of good memories. And, even at one time, Old Sturbridge Village, was having a hard time, with membership and corporate sponsorships. And, they had said at one time that it was so inexpensive to jump on a plane, go to Disney, go anywhere, any of these other places, and for almost the same amount of money as you would spend at Sturbridge. So now things have changed, obviously, right? Things have changed, and it's like sports. There used to be baseball, hockey, football. Kids today have rugby, they have field hockey, they have volleyball. It used to be, Little League. Now these kids got flag football, Pop Warner. There's so many options to them. And I think the same thing happened with Whalen Park, and it needed significant investment. And at the time, nobody was at that point where, maybe the return on their investment would have taken so long that for them it was too high risk,
And one of the highlights, Williams Brothers hot dogs.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, with mustard, relish, and onions.
I was a little. I have to admit, my brother took me on the roller coaster, and with all his friends. So it was a little bit scary, just because I wasn't sure what they were going to do. But I was always worried about the fact that it was made out of wood.
Yeah, you can see it shaking.
I was always like, this thing's shaking. I don't know about you, but this thing's shaking, and it was safe. They checked it every day.
Yep. But anyway, thanks for the memories.
Thanks for the memories. Yes.
Be good, behave, and be well.
That's the plan.
Mazzarella, don't take anything for granted.
No.
We don't need to take anything for granted.
Never. Takes too long.
Enjoy what you have and keep what you have, because it's special.
Well, you got that right.
Thank you.
All right, that was Art from the Art Report. Very profound tonight, very nostalgic. And I'm sure I want to do, next week's show, I want to do the summer survey. So we'll ask questions from people about, you've been on a cruise, things people do during the summer months. Have you ever gone to Mount Washington? We'll have a bunch of questions here that we can ask you for next week. So I'll put the questions up on Facebook for the people that watch Facebook. And we'll put the questions out. I don't want you to answer them on Facebook. I want you to call in, and I'll read the questions to you. We'll have 10 questions, and they'll be summer related. And then, who's got your favorite corn? That kind of cool stuff. Do you remember Bart's Farm? Did you ever got? We'll keep it all that way. Hey, did our guest come in yet? Ed Cronin was going to come in.
All good.
Did he come
Here
in?
and ready to go. Yeah.
Oh, he's here. Oh, all right. I didn't see him on the way in. All right. We're going to take a short break. I promise you will. And just want to remind you tonight, Mark Marquis at Carter Park, 7 o'clock. And if it looks like there's, a lot of people have parked and you get there a little late, there should be somebody to cross you on the St. Leo side. So just park in the parking lot. You'll see Jeff and Tyler. I believe they're going to be there tonight. I don't know if they're watching. But anyway, 978-534-1626. That's 978-534-1626. And we'll be back with Ed Cronin.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Deputy Chief John Champagna, and today we'll be discussing some summer safety tips. 3 particular areas we're going to be focusing on. We'll be focusing on porch fire safety, then we'll be focusing on firework safety, and we'll also be focusing on water safety. First thing, porch fire danger. Okay, rear porches are a major cause of fast-moving fires that can threaten our densely built neighborhoods. Porch fires can burn for a long time, undetected by occupants or interior smoke alarms. These fires can quickly spread to multiple structures. The Leominster Fire Department wants you to take 3 steps to prevent and avoid porch fires. When you're grilling, we're going to talk about grilling on the porch. Grilling is not allowed on porches in the city of Leominster. You must grill in the yard or at least 10 feet away from the side of a building or porch. When using charcoal, allow the coals to cool at least 48 hours before disposing. Smoking. Smoking is a big cause of fires in the summertime, spring, winter, fall, you name it. But as it relates to porch, a lot of people use the porch as their recreational area for everything. So it's not uncommon to find residual smoke materials on the porch. When smoking, remember, you got to put it out and put it all the way out every time. Wet the cigarette butts down and use heavy metal cans filled with sand for disposal. Never discard cigarettes into mulch or potted plants. Never toss cigarette butts from porches or windows. We have had several fires over the last few years that turned into multiple alarms that started from cigarettes. It's very important that you put it out every single time, okay? Storage on your porch, okay? Your porch is also a means of egress. So your back porch is a second way out in case of an emergency. Unnecessary storage adds weight and fire load to your porch. Keep your porch stairway and pathway open and safe at all times. Even if you only have a porch and there's no stairway leading from your porch, that's still an egress for us to get our ladders up to you to rescue. So all these things are incredibly important to your safety. Now we're going to talk about the importance of porch safety overall. Last year, there were approximately 100 grill fires in Massachusetts, almost half extended to a dwelling. 70% of these fires occurred between May and September. Nearly 150 residential fires were started outside by cigarettes that extended to the building. So just because you're doing it outside, if something's connected to a building like a porch, it can extend into the building. Make sure you're practicing good grill safety, good smoking safety, and good storage safety on your porches.
There you go. That was Deputy John Champagna. Thank you, John. And just a reminder, we know people have common sense and everything, but sometimes busy, right? You're busy, and sometimes you forget about things, and you're trying to squeeze a lot into a weekend or a day or a night, and it's like, yeah, it's going to cool down tonight. Let's do something. Let's do a barbecue or whatever, right? And it's just a reminder, and we have all the faith in the world, and but just that's all. Here to remind you. Hey, my next guest, this is a fun segment. Ed Cronin is here. He's going to be talking about the student exchange program. And we've been fortunate, Ed. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much,
Ed's
man. It's a
worn
pleasure.
a number of hats, including the police chief in Fitchburg. And then you went off and did other things.
Yes.
And did you substitute for chiefs around the state? And
no, I didn't do that. I worked mostly internationally. I worked for the U.S. State Department,
Yeah.
where I retired from.
Right.
There.
How cool.
Yeah.
You know, I was starting to think the other day about the same time. Remember the chief in Gardner Do you remember? He was chief for a while. He was a sharp guy. And I don't know whatever happened to him.
Ralph Evangelist.
That guy.
Yeah, actually, before I became chief in Gardner, he had taken over there, and he did a fabulous job.
I lost track of him, and I haven't been able to find him on like social media. I'll keep looking, but good guy, good man.
Yeah.
And a good chief, and did good things in Gardner, and was a team player in the area here. And
yeah, he went on, and he had a big job down in the Virginia area.
Yeah.
And then he ended up, and I can't remember the name of the town or the city. It's a pretty good-sized city near North Carolina. He ended up taking over.
Wow.
Last I knew, he was still there. But
wow, still.
Yeah.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I know you've shifted gears, and now you're on to something else here with the student exchange program, which is a really important program, and obviously delayed and a little bit of a setback when COVID hit, but now reboot, reset, and move forward.
Yes.
So tell us a little about the organization and how it all works. And people always think, well, what happens if I get the wrong kid? Or what if I get the wrong family? So that's what you do. I mean, you help on that kind of screening part. And
That's right. I'm actually the area representative for a nonprofit called Pan Atlantic Foundation. And they have a website, panatlantic.org, where people can get information in detail about the organization. But it's basically a nonprofit that helps students come from other countries to the United States, high school students. And it's composed of people partly like myself, people who are involved in international things, hosting, programming, and things of that nature, school teachers, host families, former host families, and just people that have a passion to see people come here and exchange with them.
how cool. And what a big deal it must be for a student. I know students that have studied abroad, or I know students that have been part of the exchange program. What an experience for a young person. And those experiences can't happen unless you have host parents or host households.
Yeah, it's definitely a team effort, and alluding to what you were just saying, that's how I got my whole start in the field. I ended up going to school when I was at UMass Lowell in Oxford for a period of time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, now that's an experience.
Yeah, and it was just summer courses. And,
so what though? That's pretty cool.
Just opened up a whole new world.
Right.
And I love to be able to create those opportunities for other people.
Yeah. So you figure you got that experience. Let me help somebody else and get that experience, who otherwise would never be able to get that.
That's the best feeling in the world, is to help somebody else.
It's interesting because in Europe, kids move around freely.
Yes.
In the summer months, they all jump on the old World War II, trains in Germany, and they travel Europe, 15 years old, 16 years old, together as a group or as a class, and it's quite something to see them. And you think to yourself, man, when I was 14 or 15, what an experience that must be, And so our version is we take kids to D.C. in the 8th grade,
right.
And then we try to do these exchange programs with
right.
Students from all over the world.
Right. And it's a tremendous opportunity. The programs are sponsored by the U.S. State Department. The students have what they call J-1 visas. And they have to jump a lot of hoops and qualifications in order to get selected for this program, as well as being good students.
Right. Because the sending community or country or state doesn't want to be embarrassed. This is almost like an ambassador.
Yes, and also
country.
there's a financial investment that the parents put up to send the child here too. This one young lady that I'm trying to place right now, her name is, first name is Desiree. I don't even have her last name for privacy purposes. But Leominster High School has been fabulous in working with me. We've already placed one student there who may pop up on the soccer team. And we have another young lady. She's about 16 years old. Her name is Desiree. And what I can tell you is that she comes from a blue-collar family. People that are sacrificing to send her here. She lives in a small community that has a lake. She enjoys the beaches.
What country is she in?
She's from Italy, like the other student also. Right. I selected 2 Italian students because I'm very aware of the fabulous heritage of the Italian culture in Leominster, and I thought it might be a good match.
Yeah. How cool. 978-534-1626. If you don't have any questions tonight, you want to ask off air, let me know. I have Ed's information, so if you're not comfortable calling now, but you'd like to, learn more about it, let me know. Ed will leave his information here, and they have a phone number. That's 207-871-8622, and nobody's going to write that down, extension 114. But I always try to read it slow because I'm listening to the radio sometimes. People are like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what was that? So I get like 2 numbers. I have to wait 15 minutes. I'm like, what was that number? I'm like, slow down, 978-534-1626, right? That kind of thing.
Yep.
But again, what an opportunity. I remember we had students from Beijing.
Oh, wow.
It was interesting because I was able to ask them questions, and they liked it here. They were very much just, not so much for the entertainment part, but for the education part.
Yep.
And I said, what's so interesting? And they said, in where we live, it's an hour homework for every course.
Ah.
So for 6 courses, 6 hours.
Wow.
But what they liked here is that there wasn't 6 hours of homework, which allowed them to concentrate and kind of zero in on the subjects they liked.
Right.
So they didn't stop learning. They just put their attention towards things. Mm-hmm. But in places like Beijing and other places, it's very competitive. And that test, and I forget the name of the test that they take,
right,
is what really decides kind of what career path or where they're going to go. So
yes.
This is important. And they're, like you said, a blue-collar worker. Is this young lady in the 11th grade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She loves, she's a very outward-going person. She's a good student, and she's majoring in languages. She's learning German, English, and Spanish, and that's her love and passion. And
language.
Yeah, and she wants to go to one of those countries in university. So that's her way of.
And she speaks English right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
and just so people, if they're not aware, well, I wasn't either, but they have to pass proficiency tests.
Right.
So they can't come here and not speak it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
they can't fake that. You gotta, it's a standard. And
That's
you gotta
amazing, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there might be somebody watching now or later, or we kind of share this on Facebook Live or whatever. So somebody might be here and saying, well, I work. I don't have all day to be home.
Right, right.
So what's the kind of profile that you're looking for from a family or individual or?
That's a great question there. And when they go to the website, they can find out a lot of that information in detail.
It's a kind of questionnaire that.
Well, it's a questionnaire, but the bottom line to your answer is anybody can host as long as they are capable and responsible and accountable in order to guide the student while they're here. How many tremendous people out there, especially single mothers that are out there that manage all kinds of things in life. And having an opportunity to live in a home like that could be very, very inspiring to a young woman.
How do you balance all this?
Yeah,
how do you make
absolutely.
all this? How do you make this all work? Right? It's like magic.
Right.
And that's a good. And those are good examples, right? That's a good mentor.
Yes, absolutely. You can't. There's no. I don't think there's any substitute for being here and looking and seeing it happen and getting the example and having your questions answered.
Now, what about religion or something? What if somebody isn't of the same religious belief? So what? So you might explore the different churches and religious groups that are around here to kind of, it's pretty interesting, and you might want to explore some of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if that's part of the culture where you are, it is. There isn't any requirement of any religious status at all. But that's part of culture.
Yeah. And what an opportunity, because let's face it, this is a very diverse area here.
Yes, it is.
It is United Nations at its best. It is what our founders, it's the melting pot that they dreamt of.
Yes.
Right? Many years ago, like, we want this to be the melting pot.
Right.
Statue of Liberty and Paris Island, and this is the American dream and the picket fence. And so these kids get to see that.
Right.
We're not a massive city. Right, we're mid-sized cities.
Right.
Put the two cities together, and then Worcester, and then Boston, there's so much there, and it's all, the beaches are closed, the
Right.
mountains are closed. I mean, we just had this discussion the other night. We went to the top of Mount Wachusett for a couple of minutes just to share a salad, just to sit, and
Yep.
we were like, wow, we got it all. We could see Mount Watadic, and it isn't Colorado,
No.
you know, but it's a little bit of everything. It's,
Right.
you know, we're really the White Mountains and the lakes, and
I think sometimes we take it for granted.
yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people, maybe they're aware or not, but Boston is called the Athens of America.
Right, exactly.
Because there's 52 universities there.
It's amazing.
And I've been to many huge cities in the world, and there's nothing like that.
No. And
so-
hospitals.
Yeah,
Right?
and
I mean, medical
the resources.
and
Yeah.
life sciences and
Right.
technology and MIT and you're right, we take it for granted. We
Can you
assume-
imagine the dreams that spawns when somebody comes here and they see that?
And you go on campus at Northeastern or BU or BC or any of the other colleges that are out there, Harvard University. It's like this is a storybook.
Right, absolutely.
And so that's some of the things that you hope, you know, a host person or a family can do, you know, for somebody else, just to expose them to. And I think that's the big thing is exposing. It's always been my thing is to expose kids and students to as many things as you possibly can, and let them find. We spent so much time on this MCAS exam. Everything is this MCAS exam, and everybody's got to teach to the test, and you got to pass this thing, and if you don't pass it, you can't graduate. In the meantime, all this is around them.
I agree.
And they're not exposed to it.
100%.
You know, take them around, show them something, bring them and show them a construction site.
There's other ways of learning.
Yeah, and I'm one of those learners.
Right.
I'm not the 5 deep, 5 across. It's like, take me out and show me, you know?
I'll share a little thing that I've learned along the way. There's a saying in the Quran, and it goes, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it goes something like this. Don't tell me how many degrees you have or how many awards you've been given. Tell me how far you've traveled. And to me, that sums up my experiences. You know,
How many experiences have you had? Not all are good experiences.
No.
Not all are bad.
No.
Right? And I can say quite easily that being a police officer,
Yep.
I was trying to think, did you ever have any bad days?
Oh, yeah.
And you do,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make you hate the job.
No.
They're bad days, but usually if you look a little personally, there were bad days. But on the other hand, you might have been with somebody whose family member lost their life or in an accident.
Right.
But you thinking, you know, that's a really bad day, but you were there to help them out.
Right.
So there was, and I think back, I'm like, in my 10 years, I never really had a bad day. No. It never made me hate the job.
Ronnie Hamill, the old sergeant that I had.
Yeah, Sergeant Hamill, yeah.
Yeah, told me when I was a rookie, hey kid, he says, you got a front row seat to the greatest show on earth.
Yeah.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah, remember Rollo? Did you remember Rollo?
I remember the name.
Robert E. Nolan.
Yeah.
He was a transfer from Clinton.
Yeah.
And we'd drive around the cruiser, and he'd say, when you leave here someday, there'll be a story behind every house. And now I say, Rollo, there's 3 stories. I've been around so long now, there's 3 stories behind every house. Some of these people actually sold their house and move on 2 and 3
Sure.
times. And,
Yes.
and that's the reality. But,
Yeah.
you know, we have the civil service exam coming up for firefighters. And I always get the calls later.
Right.
After the test is given, it's like, hey, you know when the civil service exam?
Right,
Well, it's
right.
coming up. It's right now.
Right.
Go to state of Massachusetts website and civil service, and then click on. It'll give you all the information. You have to be 19 by October.
Right.
The test deadline I think is like August something, but I don't want to mess up. I think I have the information in here, but I always feel bad later because I'm like, the test isn't. Remember they used to give the test and they'd say it's every 2 years.
Yep.
But then it was really 3, and then 4, and it would take forever to get your result. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, now they do, in fairness to the civil service and technology, they do spin these things down pretty
Right.
quickly, you know. Well, Ed, thank you, and certainly let us know. So one more student you have?
Yes, one
All
more
right.
student.
So we have one placed.
Right.
You need another home, another sponsor
Right.
for Desiree, and she's in the 11th grade. And when she gets here, she'll be 17 years old, and she's not a dumb student. She's
No.
very smart, and she's at 3.5. That's what we had when we were
Yes.
going to school. 3.5. Yeah, right.
Not in high school.
No. And so, anyways, she's into she's into languages.
Yes.
Her dad is a truck driver, and her mother is a housewife.
Right.
And so there's just a regular kid.
Yeah, regular people.
And expose them. We have so much to share. So,
Yes.
if you're interested at all, you want to? Is there a phone number directly they can call?
Sure, you can call me at 978-833-8137, and you can go to my Facebook, Ed Cronin on Facebook in Fitchburg, and I have all kinds of information, and I can get more information
Well,
to you.
it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. This is
Thank
really
you.
neat, and let's find that student a host community so she can come out. She can't come out unless she finds a host.
That's right.
So the school year starts in August, September. So
Right.
this is for this year, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. 978-534-1626. Thank you, Ed, for joining us. We're going to take a short break because Keith and what else are we doing back there? Why don't you guys explain to everybody what is going on, Bradley, during the show? Keith and Bradley, tell us what goes on back there, because I used to tease everybody and say that they were watching like Jeopardy and stuff. Because I'd be talking and nobody would listen. I'm like, hey, can we do this? And they'd be just kind of looking at me. So tell us what goes on back there.
The entire show consists of Keith and I running back and forth, hair on fire, trying to make it look good on your end.
Great.
Oh, yeah, that is exactly right. And tell everybody what time I get here.
In all seriousness, it's a lot of monitors that we have to look at. That we have the 3 cameras that you see, but we also have a lot of other ones that we might take depending on what is and what isn't going on. What I'm doing right now is watching the audio levels for the mayor and any of his guests. They don't notice that, but you at home, if I wasn't doing that, you'd be able to tell. You either wouldn't be able to hear them, or it wouldn't sound very good.
So I fluctuate in my speaking.
It's just a natural thing that everybody does. It's not just you. It's just the way humans speak.
Yeah, no.
It just doesn't sound very good on TV, unfortunately.
Well, I want everybody to know Bradley and Keith are busy for the whole hour. And I waltz in here at about 1 minute of, or 1 minute past. But I'm always early before I'm late.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
I always start off, and then I walk outside the City Hall, and somebody wanted to talk to me, and I'm not going to say, hey, I don't
Sure.
have time to talk to you, so I end
Sure.
up stopping to talk.
Sure.
And then I almost make it to the car, and then somebody else. And I love talking to people. And then once you get me going, you can't stop me, and then I end up running in here at 1 minute of. Then I bring the traffic signals downtown. I'm like, why is this thing taking so long? All right, we'll be right back.
Okay, the second component we're going to talk to you about summer safety tips. Fireworks. We just had Memorial Day. We got the 4th of July coming up. The summer officially begins either June 21st or 22nd. I always forget which date. But it's synonymous with fireworks. Everyone needs to know fireworks are completely illegal in Massachusetts. Not even sparklers or cherry bombs or things of that nature. You need to be a licensed firework technician to handle, operate, store, or move fireworks. Okay? The general law attached to it is Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 39. The big key here is leave the fireworks to the professionals. Don't do it yourself if you're not licensed. We've had 3 fires that I can think of off the top of my head that resulted in building fires, and 1 resulted in a lot of property damage, vast property damage in the last year. So please, leave the fireworks to the professionals. One other thing I'm going to mention, which isn't mentioned too often in regards to quote-unquote fire prevention, is water safety. In the summer, people have pools, they have open waters, there's lakes, ponds, and oceans, okay? If you're by a pool, make sure your children have their swimmies at all times, their floating devices at all times, and make sure they're above water. Never take your eyes off your children. Your cell phones, take them, throw them out of the way. Don't pay attention to that when your kids are in the pool, especially young children. They're at a huge drowning risk. Okay, as far as open waters, natural bodies of water, we just kind of touched on it. They can be more dangerous than they look. If you see a no swimming sign, don't go in past your ankles. Call 911 immediately if you think someone is drowning. Do not try to rescue someone from the water unless you're trained in the water rescue. When boating, check the forecast and keep your weather radio nearby. Tell a friend or a neighbor where you're going and when you expect to return. Have at least 4-foot-high barrier that encloses your pool. And as we talked about before, never leave a child unattended near the pool. And even if you're an experienced swimmer, never swim alone, even if you've done it a million times. Young or inexperienced swimmers should always wear a life jacket or inflatable floats. And again, never swim alone. Over the last few years in particular, it's been a noticeable uptick in drowning incidents. There are things in open water, lakes, ponds, currents change, there's branches that stick out, there's snag hazards, sudden drop-offs can go off further than you expect, temperature can affect these things. The safest thing at all times is never swim alone, even if you're an experienced swimmer, like I said, and always wear a personal safety device if you're going in open water. For children by pools, always have their floaties on and always be watching them.
Let's see, and we're back here at Inside Leominster, and about 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 51 seconds left, and just trying to make sure that we're still doing our, yes, we are. We're still on Facebook. Okay, let's share a couple things with you. First of all, if you're looking to know what's going on at the library, you can get a paper copy of what's happening, but you can also go to leominsterlibrary.com, and they're probably already working on August, but they have a whole calendar of everything that's happening there. It's Whalen Weekend coming up, starting tomorrow night. Starting tomorrow night, July 14th, 5 to 10 over at Doyle Field. Saturday, July 15th, 2 to 10. July 16th, 2 to 8. Rides, games, traveling museum, and tickets for the rides and games are $1.50 each. 10 tickets for $13 and 30 tickets for $35. And again, that's over at Doyle Field. So if you have a chance to stop by, if there's a shower, not to worry. Not going to cancel the whole night unless it rains all night or whatever. But, if you've been to these carnivals, they got a shower and then right back at it, right? Shower goes by, pick right back up. Okay, a lot of people have been asking about this. And I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So, we are going to do an Italian fest, and it's going to be August 3rd, 5 to 8 at night, August 5th, and if it rains, August 6th. It's 5 to 8. If you'd like to be a sponsor or a vendor, call our office at 978-534-7500, extension 0. We're giving first preference to local restaurants and businesses and bakeries. And then we kind of work our way out. But what we'd like to do is more of these ethnic festivals. And we did one before COVID. It was a Haitian American. And we had so much fun, so much fun. And even if you go, because I kind of look at when they have the Christmas in Acadia at St. Cecilia's, I kind of look at that as a festival, because you get to see there's food and then they're selling things and all that, and there's games and raffles, but it's kind of an indoor festival. And I look at it because it's the time of year, obviously near the holidays, and you get a chance to see people you haven't seen in a year, because that's the only time you see them is at that event, because maybe they live out of town, or years. And they come back to support their church and their neighborhood where maybe they grew up, maybe they don't live there anymore, but they come back and support. So the offer is, so that we're on the same page, is for any group that would like to help out. And we have a committee of maybe 10 or 15 right now, probably a little bit bigger, and it grows every week. We meet on Friday afternoons. And, but if there's anybody out there that would like to do the same sort of thing, so we could have an Irish festival, we could have a Brazilian festival, which they just had at St. Anne's, which is a big hit. So we're not trying to take things away from others, but we're trying to do these smaller events or events downtown. And that is why we're doing a major renovation to the downtown, so we keep the historic significance of the downtown common, but at the same time, we make it more user-friendly, bring in electricity where it belongs, make it easier so when we put the ice rink there every year, we don't have to kind of build up and the area and plywood, and just make it more common experience, right? People use the common, obviously, to graze their animals in it. Another time they used it as a gathering point. We want it to be that gathering point. So if you have an idea, or it's a Greek festival, we don't want to upset or disturb anything that anybody else already has going on. And so, when I was a kid, it was St. Anna's Festival. And it blocked off Derwin Street between Lancaster Street School. And it just seemed like everyone in the community came to this event. It was one of the biggest events. And then there was a big chicken barbecue on Saturday. And it was it was a big thing. It was a big thing. And so we're trying to bring back some of that nostalgia and try to create new memories for maybe kids or maybe a generation that never saw this. And I know you can go to Boston and they have these things, but those are people from all over the place, and we invite everybody as well. But anyway, that's the deal on that. Just in case you think we're doing it because I'm Italian, so we're going to do Italian Fest. No, we've done others. We've done, as I said, Haitian American event, and that was so much fun. Good food. We had a great time. Great music. So there you go. Tonight, everybody, over at Carter Park, 7 o'clock. Mark Marquis, I'm just reminding you because you might catch this tonight. I don't want you to see it tomorrow, obviously, because, well, Mark won't be there. Okay, another great newsletter, if you're interested. This is the newsletter from the Senior Center. It's got to be like 8 pages. It's excellent. It tells you everything you need to know, every service you need, puzzles. This thing is awesome. It's color. Everything you can ever imagine is in here. And they do a great job, and we have them at City Hall if you want to stop by and pick them up, or at the Senior Center. All right, let's go through some slides real quick, because we've only got about 10 minutes to go. There's beautiful downtown Leominster via drone. It's a drone. We have a lot of pictures, drone. I should get a bunch together and get them to you guys so you can use them. Just every once in a while, pop one up. By the way, it's Tara's birthday today. My sweetie, it's her birthday today. She's older than 29 and younger than 50-something. So happy birthday from all of us here. It's also Jen Perler's birthday. It's a bunch of people's birthday today. And so happy birthday. Thanks for putting up with me. It's no easy task, Here we go. 14,665 tested in Massachusetts in 7 days. 558 tested positive, 6 deaths. 1 is too many. 101 new cases here in Worcester County. And right now in Leominster, last 7 days and the last 2 weeks, 0. Hospitalization is down to 112. These are the lowest numbers I've seen in a long time. ICU, Massachusetts, 8, and intubated at 5. A lot of work going on in the grant office. Grant has been submitted to purchase 53 acres on Pierce Street near Lunenburg. Grant submitted to the state for Prospect Park. That went over very well and favorable the other night. It was a public hearing. And sidewalk bid has been awarded to Detour Construction. And they're actually working up at the high school, near the high school on West Street. Caller, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dino.
Crystal, how are you?
Good. Tracy and I are at the Mediterranean restaurant in Clinton.
Oh, good for you. Well, thank you today for bringing those things by, and I will make sure
Happy birthday, Tara.
See, Crystal remembers. It's Tara's birthday.
I remember everyone's birthday.
What's that?
I remember everyone's birthday.
I know, that's amazing. One thing about Crystal, she works at Hannaford. One thing about Crystal is she remembers everybody's name. She knows everybody. She knows their name, birthdays. She's got like a photographic memory, right?
Yep, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, have fun tonight.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right, let's see where we were with 978-534-1626. So the sidewalk bid, they're working on West Street near the high school. Main Street bump outs are out to bid. I believe they opened today. And that also went to Detour Construction. Street paving contract is out to bid. Design is complete for Prospect Park. Barrett Park Playground is now open. It's a 588 $400,000 upgrade, $400,000 from the state, and what a beautiful park it is. I went by the water park today, packed. I went by the pool, beautiful, clean. $200,000 for state grant for upgrading the fiber that feeds the schools. Expected to save about $300,000 a year annually in internet cost. The North Nashua, if you see all that construction, see, this is why it's important to watch this show. You're not going to find this information anywhere. If you're coming off of the connector, coming off the highway, and you look to the right, you're going to see like tons, like incredible amounts of construction equipment. That's for the work for phase 1 of the North Nashua phase 1 work. It started. What it is the erosion was causing some of the land to fall into the river, trees and everything. And the fear was that it would eventually make it to the road. So they're going to do some streamlined stabilization out there. And that's a big deal. You should see all the equipment. They've been bringing in equipment for 2 weeks. And the Downtown Comet project is out to bid next week. Construction is to start. We're going to wait until after the Johnny Appleseed Festival. Hey, it's National French Fry Day, Fool's Paradise Day, International Rock Day, National Barbershop Music Day, National Beans and Frank Day. Do you guys like Beans and Frank? I love Beans and Franks.
I know the TV show.
Yeah, it's true.
The award-winning.
The award-winning. The award-winning. This show's never won an award. Just so everybody knows, we've never won an award. 1939, old Blue Eyes Frank Sinatra makes his recording debut with the Harry James Orchestra, singing from the bottom of my heart and melancholy mood. 1960, U.S. Democratic Convention nominates JFK as presidential candidate. 1977, New York experiences the 25-hour blackout. Do you guys remember that? You guys don't know about it. There was a blackout in the Northeast, and it went on for a while, like all the power went out. It is actually a song, Where Were You When the Lights Went Out? 1978, Ford Motor Company Chairman Henry Ford fires company president Lee Iacocca, which he went on to I think Lee Iacocca went off. Remember the K car? There was this thing, if you guys want to look it up sometime for nostalgic purposes, it was called the K car, and it was a genius by Lee Iacocca. And it was a very affordable automobile, very, very, very affordable. And it provided a new car for a lot of people that couldn't afford a new car at a time. And they used to go to Kmart. They had one of these cars out in front of Kmart at the time. And Lee Iacocca bounced back and went out and worked for Chrysler. 1994, former NFL running back, broadcaster, and actor O.J. Simpson was charged with murder and gives hair samples for testing. Isn't he like 80-something now, O.J. Simpson?
He's getting up there.
He's up there. And then in 2018, Johnson & Johnson ordered to pay a record $4.7 billion in damages in talc cancer case by a jury in the U.S. state of Missouri, which means they proved that these guys knew about it. That's the sad part, is they knew about it. Okay, follow the police station progress, and I'm going to give you an update right now. They're on the final month and a half or so, and furniture starts coming in on Monday, and laying concrete, flagpoles will be going up soon, blacktops down, cleaning company was inside. This is it. This is hard to believe, but it's actually happening. Okay, a reminder for those that are kind of looking forward and want to write this down or be thinking about it. Starburst, July 29th, 5 to 9. National Night Out, August 1st, right downtown, 5 to 8. Italian Festival, 5 to 8, August 5th, or the rain date of the 6th. Beer Garden, that's coming up August 12th. And Johnny Appleseed Festival, September 23rd, and much more after that. Don't forget, Sonny is off right now for the concerts at Carter Park. And remember that he'll be back, and I can't see the writing, but I believe it's July 27th that they'll be back. And it's Quickfire, country and rock music, and this is all free. Sonny goes out and gets sponsors, and there you go. All right, 411, if you have a tip, you would want to provide the police department with anonymous information, you can go to tip 411. Tip 411, it's secure and anonymous. I guarantee you, there's a third party that this goes through. no one will ever know that you provided this information. Pictures of the week, here we go. West Street sidewalk is near Grand Street, doing a great job. That's Detour Construction. Granite curbs, concrete sidewalks. Cumberland Road drainage line being done by the DPW. That way we can pave the street after. Striping on Colburn and Pleasant Streets, really helping out. Now that the blacktop is done, and boy, Monoosnock, I took a picture last year, I think this week, to the date. And you know what? There was dry, bone dry Monoosnock Brook after the rain. But look at it now. You could surf down there. New gardens at 5th and Mechanic, if you haven't noticed. It's supposed to have a very organic look to it with wildflowers and trees and really nice down there. Take a look when you drive by. Whalen Park is back and it's getting set up. They started last Sunday night. And remember, tomorrow, Friday, 14th, Saturday the 16th, and the 17th on Sunday. Washington Street drain lines, installation continues. Now, there's some detours. This is associated with that project in front of Water Tower Plaza and going right along. So Route 12 continues, and it's widening, about $10.5 million project down there. Willow Street water line underway, and that provides, you know, cleaner water, new pipes. And consultants explained the project for the proposed Prospect Park, and everyone came in, they explained the project, they were very happy, and they clapped at the end. Just a couple of minutes left here, but this is an inside peek of the new police station. Will you take a look? Amazing, beautiful. And we have a new captain, an official. Now, he's been acting for 3 years, but this is official. He was acting, and Chief Kennedy, congratulations, very nice. We had his family there, decades of commitment to public safety by his family, and his great uncle, I guess, or grandfather would have been Mayor LaPierre. There you go, kids. We're out of time. Thanks for watching. Good night. God bless you. Remember, the world's run by those who show up. You showed up. And again, one last friendly reminder, what's coming up soon, with 28 seconds left here. Mark Marquis, Thursday night, the 13th at 7 p.m. and Whalen Park kind of reunion down there at Doyle Field on Friday the 14th, the 16th, 15th, and the 16th. See you there. Good night.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank creates success. EnterpriseBanking.com.
This is LTV.